Lyra asks, what kind of effect might it have on a person to be stuck in their most unconscious powers? Vi for an IG.
This is a good question. It's a question that brings in higher level stuff like spirit forms and also kind of connecting different spirit forms together. So I would recommend that you take a look at the episode on Mazut misread spectrum, because that will relate a lot to this. To discuss this properly, we need to talk about Dar'yu, because you use the word stuck, and I think it's a good word because it's something you are having difficulty getting past. With Mazut, which also plays into this, there is more the issue of not even knowing to try to go a better way. Just not knowing. So when you get to the Dar'yu, it's more like you may try to go the right way, but you fail. Why? Well, that's going to bring the rituals associated with the Dar'yu, which are confusion, fear, rage, resolution. So all those things can be difficult. You're lost, you're scared, you're pissed off, you're fatigued, you don't have the willpower for the resolution, or does it feel like you do? But you do. You just gotta find out how to get to it. This relates, for example, Naiji, who may misread as Vi Alpha. They're going to be experiencing a lot of Dar'yu. There's also going to be Mazut issues that they don't know what their mojo is. So to a degree, some of that could be clarified by pointing out natural law to them, using popular theory. But then you're going to run into greater difficulty past that. And this gets also into like mojo reading, as we talked about, for your own personal reading of people. Then in the beginning, your misreads will be largely technical. But later on, as your technical abilities become more proficient, more reliable, then misreads will mainly be due to fatigue, stress, and past associations. Those are the big three. So when that's happening, those associations will keep you from getting the read. This happens with a person who's, for example, stuck in a Vi Alpha lifestyle. Why are they stuck there? And this is because usually one of the Dar'yu rituals will be tripped off when they attempt to leave it. That's why people stay in ruts that are unhealthy. It's because there's a lot of traction or momentum going that way, and getting out of it takes a lot of work. And when you get out of the rut, the wheel, it wobbles at first. So there's a lot of things that kind of reinforce staying in a Dar'yu position. The other higher spirit forms help out with this a great deal, and we'll get to those in a moment. But for right now, just dealing with the Dar'yu and Naiji in the Vi Alpha lifestyle, this didn't come from being V'd up. As mentioned in the other filming, being V'd up for Naiji can overmodulate in an adaptive way, in an objective way. Those not so much in this instance you're talking about, it's the literal way. The literal aspect of the V is heavily overmodulating the Nai. And when this takes place, the Nai is basically, every time it comes on, it's figuring out when it's going to land on the V. And it makes you ask what are maybe some effects. One of the big ones you'll notice is the shrinking of the amount of space, the amount of time allowed for Nai unfurling. Because you're always wondering, when is that circle going to close off so it can land on something? If you want a good example of this, you're going to find a lot on, I don't know if you have cable, but like Discovery Channel, you can probably find stuff on YouTube, different clips, whatnot. There's a bunch for you to take a look at. I would say like American Chopper, Paul Tuttle Sr. and Paul Tuttle Jr., they're both Naiji, but the father is way more vezzed up than the son. The son is more aware that he needs his Nai to envision something that inspires him, something that's different, original, and then he wants to link it up with making the clients go wow. And this causes him to do things that the over literal modulated father, who probably might see himself as a Vi Alpha, I don't know how he would self-assess, but he's definitely vezzed up in this way. And there's an over concern with tidiness, with schedules, deadlines, to the point where it makes it very difficult to keep an artistic mindset. This is important. I'm not talking being wifty. That's why that might be going to watch, because Paul Jr., he does deliver V products on a regular basis, and they're awesome. So he's able to do that. But you need room to let art go where it goes. And there's always this jumping on a person for being silly, for trying something new, as if trying something new was a bad thing. But trying something new is crucial in any endeavor, but for Naiji, it's crucial to the way that they live their entire life. So if they're not able to try and go someplace new in their craft, can say craft of choice, then they're not going to be using anywhere their maximum potential. And that's a tricky kind of turn of phrase there, maximum potential, because Naiji who do their peak pathway have a far greater peak potential, but it takes longer to get there because they're actually going through the more tacit abilities of Nai and Ji before they arrive at the more practical side over here. But what they gain by going out to sea, when they come back, they have things to deliver over here no one else has. That's awesome. When this isn't done, there can be a shrinking of what is the world that we're, I guess, living in or experiencing. And that shrunken world, all degrees of validation are from that world. And anything outside of that world is seen as bad, foreign, alien. There's much more of a colloquialism with Naiji who are vezed up in this way. So you'll see more colloquial views. You'll also notice a extreme disinclination to remodeling. Nai Alpha who think they are Vi Alpha, they tend to be Nai Alpha who do not like to remodel. So there will be a reluctance to remodel. There will be perhaps a certain craft they do, perhaps a certain career, and that area or that thing, that's life. And things outside of that, that's seen as a waste of time. So Naiji who are vezed in this way, they tend to be very impatient for where is the payout for interpretive thought. For this reason, many others, Nijai, healthy Nijai, are not going to find that appealing. So something else you notice as an effect for Nai Alpha who are stuck in a rut like this is they tend to hook up with other directives. That's a very common theme. Because to be around a mojo with inspirational Ni energy, that would bring in a direct countering to the literal overmodulation of V. It would be a direct counter to that. And so the Nai Alpha would be shook because it would basically be saying, this little small prison of a life that you are all anal about, look at me, I got 2 more pennies over here, or look, this is shiny now, or look at those tools, they're all aligned right. Those little tiny, what kind of victory is that for a Naiji? A Nijai would immediately say, what about this, what about that, asking about changing that life, expanding that life. Vezed up Naiji do not tend to be big on expanding life. They kind of just V'd up a life and are going to kind of V-fetish on it. And everyone needs to be that way. In fact, Naiji who are vezed up in this way can be some of the most small-minded, bigoted, belligerent people you'll ever meet. And that might make people think that they must be some sort of Vi Alpha, but I don't want to actually disrepute Vi Alpha that way. Vi Alpha can be super heroic, and that's not being a Vi Alpha. That's being a vezed up Naiji, to where it becomes some sort of, I don't know, cult of cleanliness, really bizarre things. And you'll see something else, which is there is a disgust of Nai and Ni use in the environment and a fear of it. So again, I recommend you check out the American Chopper episode to see the interactions between the father and the son, but there's other ones too. On the other hand, you may notice there's another way it comes out, which is the objective side, which is the adaptive side. Oftentimes, Naiji who are V'd up in that way, but they still think the directive. They'll be real hard asses and uncompromising and tense. All hunters are tightly wound, and Naiji are definitely tightly wound, but there's an unhealthy being wound to where no one can actually get anything done because they immediately correct every detail as soon as it comes out and don't let anyone flow. That's because they don't let themselves flow. So that's another thing you'll notice is, which is another turnoff for Nijai, if they're healthy, is there is a lack of respect for people being allowed to have artistic processes. That lack of respect that Naiji has for their own artistic process, they lash out others for having the gall to drift, to brainstorm with Ni, to go to certain locations to be inspired. That's a waste of time. Why are you doing these things? Anything like this. So those are just a few things. I'll just finish up here by talking about the rut aspect, which is why they're in it and not getting out of it, which are two different things, but they're obviously related. As far as going in it, all mojos can fetish. And so if you're getting energetic strokes from the environment for doing things that are not ideal in your peak pathway, humans have a great ability to fetish to get that. So if it's an environment that praises having physical prowess, maybe being very clean, attention to detail, fastidiousness, whatever it is asking for, all mojos can do that. And Naiji in particular, having Ji wanting to be a hero, wanting to be seen as someone who is worthy, and then you have the shape-shifting to go with that, there is going to be all kinds of attempts to get what they're told by the world as being strong and being mature, being serious. Actually, you'll find this a lot among a lot of the criminals. Naiji have represented a lot of criminal things, from the organized to the anarchic. But the one thing that you'll notice is there tends to be an uptightness about details and a real disgust for anyone who slips up in that way. Slipping up, not allowed. Slipping up is not allowed. With interpretive powers, there's going to be a hit and miss quality. There's going to be a hit and miss quality, and it's the hits that are so awesome and people didn't see them because they didn't have Nai or Ni. That makes them so cool. But because of that, there's kind of like a throwing out of a line, trying to see things in the dark, so not everything pans out. These kinds of Naiji have very little patience for that kind of work. You put something in, it needs to pay out now. You don't dive in the water to see what's down there. You dive in the water to get gold. If you're not getting gold, it was a waste of fucking time. That attitude will be prevalent. So if they have streamlined, maybe they're getting gold out of the Bering Sea, for example. There's Naiji and Naizi doing that. Bering Sea Gold, another special TV show in those Discovery Channel. Anyway, is the focus on getting the gold. Are you getting the gold? And even within the activity getting the gold, if that is even a positive pursuit, let's just say it is for sake of discussion, there's still having the ability to nigh enough to try out different locations. I know you want to get into the water getting to the gold, but if you don't nigh well enough, you won't pick the right location. And you'll see, because there's lots of Naiji and Naizi in that show, different comfortability with doing what you need to do to canvas that huge, vast area to find the right spot. As opposed to, we need to be digging for gold. It's 2 days and we haven't dug for gold yet. There's no ounces. Yeah, but finding the best location to mine in is kind of the main spell. So rushing that, you're rushing the main thing because you can only mine gold from the location you were able to find. That's a big thing you'll notice. However, and this is where they can really get freaked out, and Ni Alpha tend to really freak these kind of Ni Alpha out, because when you really go deep with Ni, and Ni is talking with Ni, it may come up with things like, maybe I shouldn't be diving for gold. Maybe that's not really what I need to be doing. Maybe I need to be doing something else. These kind of vezzed up Naiji, they do not like coming off task. they've been grilled. You got to be on task. You got to finish your jobs. You got to like finish what you start, and all these kinds of things, which can be very noble and they are good. But they've gotten locked on into like a strange form of obsession with it. So, like getting gold is winning. Getting gold is winning. But maybe their health is going. Maybe they've lost their Niji other in human form, various things, but they're getting gold, getting gold, getting gold. And so that's why they may stay, because they kind of fetished in an unhealthy way, but they are getting a payout. The world says, wow, you've gotten more gold. You're also energetically not developing well, but who cares? You're getting gold. So that can be a phenomenon you'll see a lot, why they stay in the rut. And when people are telling them you're in a rut, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm getting gold. So it's typical sometimes to tell someone who's getting gold or beating ass or getting pussy or anything like this that they're in a rut that's unhealthy, because they're scoring a lot, and the world at large is kind of going, oh yeah, those are generally accepted wins. Generally accepted wins generally don't mean shit to an IG. An IG have to get their own special wins. It's a hard path, it's a heroic path. When you do it, there's nothing like it. We'll cap this off with why don't they come out of the rut if they could be shown that they are in fact in an unhealthy rut. That is only an illusion of success and momentum and trajectory. It's not really there. If they could see that even for a glimpse, why don't they get out? Dar'yu. Confusion, fear, rage, resolution. First is confusion. They don't know how to be out of the rut nearly as well as they do going into the rut. And as weird as this can sound, all mojos kind of like to know what the fuck they're doing. But hunters really do. It's a big deal to know what you're doing. So to come out of having fetished in an unhealthy way to a healthy lifestyle in some way, but you don't know the steps, that can just really bother the ego. So that can prevent. That is not acceptable. That's just the answer why that might happen. You have to get past that, and you can. You have the ability to both from having the shiny token and bring in higher spirit forms to help you out. Fear. There can be the fear of people think I'm silly. I used to be this really, vezzed up guy who got a lot of respect, or girl who got a lot of respect for being vezzed up. And now, what will people think of me? What will they think when I'm me? Maybe they won't respect me. Maybe they'll think that I've slid in all that progress of not being me. I had a lot of time and rank of not being me, and I'll lose all that. Yeah, you probably will. But that's a small price to pay for being you. And in fact, fuck small price. 451, there's no option. There's no option. You're just living a confused, bizarre form of suicide life doing that. You're actually, sound and fury signifying nothing. You're doing, work, this, house here, this, that, nothing. And you've done no development. You've gone nowhere. So that's something to really push people past those sticky points that Dar'yu, because being lost sucks. And when you're a hunter, it's humiliating. It's humiliating to be lost. Fear. Hunters have a sort of, energy efficient, cleaving through life kind of way about them. And now, when they go this new way, besides being wobbly and not really know what they're doing, it's going to be hard. They're not going to be streamlined. People are going to make fun of them for, even though you're not wobbly past confusion, so okay, you were really wobbly, but you're just confused. But then you're not confused wobbly, but you're just shaky wobbly. You're a noob. You don't have the confidence yet or the experience of doing it. And so there's a desire to cave and go back to being a 20th level Lich Lord instead of a second level hero. Any level hero is better than being a fucking Lich Lord. Lich Lord is based on NPC, you're not in the fucking game. But they may have a hard time seeing this, and you may have to present things with a lot of evidence. It'll be difficult to convince these kinds of people with anything other than a total life bubble that is superior to theirs in every way. Then they might listen, maybe. But one nice thing is when you do have a life bubble that is proper, one thing that overcomes confusion and fear is envy. Envy is actually related to rage, because you get angry that other people have things that you want, particularly if they're things that you could or should have. So to see another Naiji living an awesome lifestyle, peaking out the wazoo, other Naiji are going to want that. And then if they were confused over whether or not they were Naiji. When they see Naiji having that much fun being Naiji and having fun with their Nijai others, they'll get unconfused. If they were cowardly about what it takes to walk out there, the energy you get from being you, there's nothing like it. And the reward of having your Nijai other clap the hands in a magical fairy way that you are actually awesome, who gives a shit what anyone else thinks? Really, what matters is you are you. And this gets back to actually really, you kind of have to come to them firm, but you better have your own life bubble before you do that, because these kind of discussions between hunters tend to get intense. You have to go at them for the independence of mind, because even though they think they're by G or by Alpha, they often see themselves as having independence of mind, but they don't. You have to challenge that illusion. That basically they are the vezzed up uber something of a very small, pathetic little bubble. You have to do that. Again, I would recommend not being in that bubble when you tell them this. You would want to tell them from another bubble that was totally safe for you to be in, and you wouldn't have to go back to that bubble. But there does need to be, if you're so strong, do this. It's rough, but kind of how you get people out of this rut is you use a Naiji to Naiji approach, or use a Nijai to Naiji approach. Either way, which is, if you're so independent-minded, why can't you do this? That's the Naiji to Naiji. That's how we talk to each other. Nijai talking to Naiji is going to be, why can't we have this? It would be fun to have this. Wouldn't that be a fun way to go? And it implies, if you were strong enough, you would go there, and the desire to please the other is great. Another thing that can sometimes be a big issue coming out of the rut is rage. A lot of times people have so much anger at having lived a false peak pathway for so long, there's just this mindless rage at the world and everything for having made you do that. So when you start realizing it, you get filled with this anger, you don't really know what to do. And when you don't know what to do with the anger, it's very uncomfortable. So going back to the rut, although unhealthy, it's more comfortable. When the rage comes on, there needs to be a proper use of it two ways. One, good resolution. Resolution takes a lot of life force, but rage gives it to you. That anger at actually that having happened is set to, it will not happen going forward. That's good use of the rage. Then there's also anger that, this is your other's empathy talking to you, anger that other people in the world are having this done to them. This takes you up to your other. You're like, that can't be. People can't live in a world like this. I need to make the world a better place. That's a very good way of dealing with that anger, because it will be there and you can't just ignore it. I mean, once a person realizes that they've lived a vezzed up lifestyle their entire life because the world, their religious group, their country, their family, books they read all told them that, it's like every fucking one lied to me. And it's just crazy. And so you have to have something to do with it, which is why Podlair, before I brought it to the world as I am now, I had to have the whole thing complete. I had to have outlets for when we awaken everyone, they realize what's going on, they're going to need something to do with this awakening. Because actually to be awakened without something to do with that energy is intensely painful. And it can cause lashing out or jumping back in the rut just to kind of tune it out. However, at the apex of the Dar'yu is resolution, and it's in there for a reason. You're built to do it. So whenever people think like, I can't get past my confusion, I can't get past my fear, I can't get past my... Yes, you can. It's in there. Resolution. That's why it's there. The confusion, fear, and rage are to challenge you to do what you need to do to get back on the right path. Because when you're not on the right path, you'll be confused. You'll be scared. You'll be pissed off. And when that happens, for a reason, your failings or the failings of the world, exert effort to make a better world where everyone in it and yourself is better. That's the right thing to do with all these anxieties, all these confusions, all these frustrations. Channel them into resolution. Better me, better world.